Line 35. Tae-young病. Illnesses in the Tae-young. 头痛发热. They've got a headache and they're emitting. They are showing heat. Okay? Now it's Tae-young illness, which means they've got to be afraid of cold or they've got to be afraid of wind. There has to be something that's in the Tae-young, the surface layer, but they've got heat. We're touching them and they feel hot. 肾痛, 肾疼, the body hurts. 腰痛, and the lower back hurts. 骨节疼痛, the joints and bones are all painful. 无风, there's aversion to wind. 无汗, there's no sweat. 而喘者, as showing and having shortness of breath. Hey, we need to pay attention because here we have no sweat as well as and causing all of these factors. We have the shortness of breath. We just had a line where it was the shortness of breath causing sweating. This shortness of breath is not causing sweating. In fact, we can start thinking that whereas the shortness of breath with the hasty pulse caused the heart to work in such a way that it was making them sweat. If someone who's sitting near a heart attack breaks that sweat. Okay? So shortness of breath, bad pulse, hasty pulse leading to sweat. In this situation, we have no sweat. Possibly it's the no sweat that is leading to the shortness of breath. Do you see the reverse direction there? Shortness of breath leading the sweat to come out. No sweat, so the pores are trapped, and we have shortness of breath. As I always say, all you need to do is go into a swimming pool. And, we're getting near summer. So everybody please do that this summer before Module 4. Get in, and you get to your waist. And then you have that moment where you don't want to get your navel wet. I mean, you understand that if you ever need to get in a cold thing and you're like, whoo, 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 just take a handful of water and rub your navel. All of a sudden you can get in without a problem. That's cold affecting your Mingmen. So your Mingmen's like, dude, do not do this. So you're like, Okay, so you fool the Mingmen or you're like, too bad. Okay, so then you get in a little bit further, and just as the water gets past your diaphragm, you're going to feel your breath change. You're going to go, It's not the cold. It's the fact that most of the surface of your body can no longer breathe. I mean, when they were like, how does navel breathing? All they did, these people who are meditating and thinking and all of this, they got into water and realized that their breath changed because their pores weren't going there. So they realized that there's some interchange on our surface with the outside world. And when the water gets at a certain point, your breath goes, and now you're only relying on mouth and nose. If that's not enough to convince you, okay? All of us, when we get to the pool, hold your breath, plug your nose with a stopwatch, and see how long you can hold your breath outside of the water. I guarantee you can hold your breath much longer outside of water than you can submerged in water. I leave it at that. Homework for the summer. So we have Tae-young, illnesses in the Tae-young, headache, they're putting out heat. We've got some important signs now. Body aches, lower back hurts, the body hurts, the lower back hurts, which means the illness isn't just in the head, it's in other areas. The bones, joints hurt, there's aversion of wind, there's no sweat, as well as shortness of breath. Huang Tang is your formula. If I was to take a poll of everybody who's taken herb class in every school, as well as China, and I'd say, tell me the most important formulas of the Shanghan Lun, Guizhi and Huang. It's like parroting. Everyone's going to say Huang Tang. I'd just like to point out that we are in the middle chapter on line 35, and this is the first time we've had Huang Tang all by itself. It's not so important that it's the second formula. We didn't read formula number 1, Guizhi Tang. Formula number 2, Huang Tang. No, we've had formula Guizhi for ages. and Guizhi this, and Guizhi that. And you don't think it's Guizhi, but really it still is Guizhi. And then we have, never mind. Here we are, and now we have Huang for the first time. And please, now in your heads forevermore, mark that achiness moving, that pain in the joints in the body, and the word Huang. Just combine those two things in your mind, but don't get locked in and always throw in Huang when someone has those. But realize that when someone has a cold and there's aches in other parts of the body besides the head, you're going to need an herb that's going to be able to go down as well as up as wherever it's going to go. So, what does Cheng Wuji say? 此太阳伤寒也. This, it is Tae-young, damage by cold. So he started off, illness is in the Tae-young, but he didn't tell us Shanghan and he didn't say Zhongfeng. Whereas earlier on, he said Tae-young, he said Zhongfeng, he said Shanghan, cold damage, he said Zhongfeng, struck by wind. Here it just says Tae-young, but from the symptoms, we know it's Shanghan, it's damaged by cold. Hanzi, cold, it damages Shang Ying, it damages the nutritive qi. So, cold damages the nutritive, wind damages the defense. That's one of those things we've got to memorize. He said it before, he's going to say it again. We don't want to hear it and be like, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. We got to be like, someone says, what's the difference? Oh, that's, Shanghan damages the nutritive and wind damages the defense. Doesn't everybody know that? Like that should be our constant little thing here, okay? So he's going to harp on it because everybody forgets, including all of us. So, but hence why I like to use dangui instead of baishao when someone doesn't need the restraining, because it gets the nutritive. So, cold, it damages the nutritive. 头痛, 神痛, 神疼, 腰痛. So we have headache, head pain or headache, body pain, lower back pain. 抑制前脸骨节疼痛者. Including, these pains have reached to the point where it's spreading to, it's leading, it's like a horse. Literally, this term is like leading a horse. So the aches and pains are head, body, back. So what do we have? We have the full torso, from head all the way to the back. Okay? It's so bad that it's now led to, continued to, reach not just the torso of the body, but now the extremities. So the aching cause, this cold, is not just hit the head. It's not a head cold. It's not a chest cold. Right? It's not in the intestines cold. It's causing pain all the way through, and now it's including our limbs, the joints and things like that. So that's what that's implying. 疼痛者, 太阳经阴血不利也. This is the Tae-young channel's nutritive qi and blood are not in a good state. That's a pretty neat statement. We have a Tae-young illness, but it's affecting pain, and pain implies blood, and blood implies nutritive, and therefore, in the channel of the Tae-young channel, and you can say, it's more qi, less blood, more blood, less qi, and you can have all sorts of fun with that. But most importantly, the blood's not flowing well in the channel, which therefore means the tendo-meridian channels in the back, the body, hurt, and therefore the pain goes from the head, through the back, all the way down, and it's so bad that everything aches. And so the tightness has come in, the cold has caused this constriction in there, that it's in there. But he doesn't say 强积极. And earlier, he had that idea of it is stiff and doing this thing. But that was all wind. That was all wind. This is pain. It's cold. So that idea, that stiffness, he didn't say pain. It's stiff and hard to move. Wind. It hurts. Cold. Blood. Qi, blood. Those of you who are in the external medicine class that we did last year, we had one module where we were talking about qi versus blood when it comes to pain in the body. And so if we miss that and we treat with a blood technique for when it's a qi problem, or we treat with a qi problem when it's a blood problem, our results aren't great. And so here we're going to get really clear, where is it? And the problem is with the yin, the nutritive qi, and the blood, and it's not li, it's not beneficial, it's not flowing well. Neijing yue, just in case you weren't convinced, he's going to back it up with the neijing. Okay, so he's told this to you, and then he says, 内经曰, the Neijing states, 风寒克病. So, when wind and cold guest and the wind bing yu. So when wind and cold guest in a person, 克与人, 世人, and then I love this, 世人好卯 The hao mao is your soft hairs of the body. Okay, so it's your body hair. Why differentiate? It's not the hair on your head, and it's not the curlies. Okay, the defense chi is not down there. So that's what's going on there. I mean, the Chinese have, it's actually here, hao mao, right? I mean, I'm not making this up. It's just, you might as well know, right? So then it says, 壁纸, so it causes the person's soft hairs to stand up straight. Goosebumps, right? You get the hairs all like that. So, oh God, it's so hard, these little lines. 壁纸, 皮肤壁而为热者. So the skin has locked. With the lock, the hairs go, I mean, basically, this is a hair and a pore that's regularly open, naturally open. When I squeeze it, it goes, and so it's the tightness on the surface that pushes the hair up, causes the hair to stand up. I mean, it's just, that's what they were seeing. So, and then this leads to heat, right? Because once you've locked that outside, heat's going to build. And so you've got heat, but we've got 汗在表野. Cold is on the outside. Now this doesn't mean your skin is cold. The cold pernicious is on the outside, causing the body to tighten and the hairs pop up in this situation. 汗在表野, 风冰雨为, and so the wind has extended in the defense chi. 未时, the defense chi is full, are yin, and the nutritive is deficient. In that situation, 自寒出而无风, sweat comes out by itself, and there's aversion to wind and cold. So, defense has excess, and the nutritive has deficient. So earlier on, very early sentences, he talked about the reason why there's heat is the yang has separated, it's up on the surface, and the yin is weak, and so the water comes out. And so we have excess on the surface, deficiency on the inside, so the heat is going to pull the yin out of the body, and you've got sweating. Okay, we had that earlier. 汗冰雨营, if the cold has reached into the nutritive, then the nutritive, the yin is 时, has excess, and the wei, or defense, is deficient. In this situation, it's the reverse, right? If you can keep track of that on paper or somehow. In this situation, there's cold, solid in the nutritive, and the outside is weak. Then we have 无汗而无风也. There's no sweating and aversion to wind. 一营强未弱故其逆而传. It is because the yin has strength, not good strength, right? That the pernicious is quite strong there, and the wei, or the defense, is weak. And it's because of this that the qi is going the wrong direction, and there is shortness of breath. And so he's just told us here that it's because the inside has strength and the outside is weak that there's no sweating. So the cold is, and it's here. No sweating can come out because the cold is holding it in. And so with that cold holding it in, we have shortness of breath. And so in one situation, we had shortness of breath causing sweating. In this case, we have the body inability to sweat causing shortness of breath. Everything has the taiji, the yin-yang, in all situations. 玉, ma huang tang, we use ma huang tang to push out the sweat, to emit out the sweat. That's what ma huang tang does. So let's look at ma huang tang. We have our first time, we really have ma huang all by itself. So we have ma huang and we have 3 liang. And as Julianne said, that in China, where you can still use ma huang, in patients that we have first given the dose at a low dose and did not see any results, we will use the traditional doses. It is not uncommon for us to discover that the illness does not respond at all for the low doses as suggested in one book, but as suggested in the other book you have at those dosages, somewhere between 45 and 90 grams, we get great results. Person takes it, goes to bed, wakes up, and they no longer have a head cold. They have had sinus cold for a month. You give them a real dose of ma huang, and it's gone the next day. It's great. I can't say that, sorry. So, ma huang, 规制, a little less, right? Ma Huang is our primary herb. We need the guizhi in the formula to give a Ma Huang a direction. And the direction is up because we want to have a sweat happen. Whereas later on, we're going to have Ma Huang and we're going to draw it down. So it creates urination. So here, we want the guizhi in there, but we don't want a lot of it, comparatively. We want less of it, but it's going to give the direction to the Ma Huang. Then we've got Gancao in there, and we've got Xingren. And the official prescription of Xingren is 70 kernels, 70 Xingren. And in China right now, in the opposite, if you prescribe over 10, the computer flags it. At some point, if you have a scale in your own pharmacy, please take 70 kernels of Xingren and weigh it. It's a little more than 10, shall we say. So what's interesting here is we're going to have Xingren in a couple of places. And here he's going to describe Xingren as acrid and warm. And in other places, he's going to say it's sweet. In all of them, he says that we should take off the tips. But what's interesting is in some places they'll say you need to peel it, in other places they won't. It's my personal having our own pharmacy and getting so many herbs, and sometimes your Xingren comes nice and white, and sometimes it comes with the skin still on them. And it's not the same. One is more sweet and one is more bitter because the skins have that bittery taste to them, all of that. And so just factor that in. So we have our Ma Huang, our guizhi, our Gancao, and our Xingren with 70 kernels. At some point, please do count them all out as you use them. Neijing Yue, the Neijing states, Han Ying, cold pernicious, yu nei, if it's in the inside. Zhi Yi, the treatment method is gan re, sweet and hot. So if we want to treat a cold pernicious inside the body, we know we need to use sweet, and we know we need to use hot. Zuo Yi, secondarily, ku xin, using bitter and acrid. Ma Huang, Gancao, kai ji fa han. The Ma Huang and the Gancao, it opens the flesh and it pushes the sweat. Guizhi Xingren, the guizhi and the Xingren, san han xia qi, disperses the cold and lowers the qi. Now, why do we want to lower the qi? We're lowering the qi because of the shortness of breath. We're trying to calm the lungs. But the descending of Xingren is not the same thing as the descending of Da Huang, of Zhi, of any of those things, right? We need to descend when it's below the diaphragm and it's Yangming, and we've got those heavy herbs. Xingren is we are taking it from to here, but we're not going down the other way, okay? So that's that. Understanding where the herbs come. It's not enough just to know their flavor and nature. It's important to know their heaviness, lightness, what parts of the body they like to go to based on whether they're yin zhong zhi yin, the yin of the yin, or the yin of the yang, or the yang of the yang, or the yang of the yin, which is really just a fancy way of saying how light they are, how heavy they are, how oily they are, how dry they are. We take our 4 herbs. We put in 9 sheng. Of course, we first do the ma huang, and then we scoop out the mo, the stuff. We put in the rest of the herbs, and we boil it down, and then we take it warm. And interestingly here, he has a specific amount. It's the first time he said before you take a sheng or something like that. But here it's really specific. It's ba he. So what is it? According to that book, it's 160 milliliters. But he's given us a very specific amount. What does that mean for us? It means don't take a big mug. Because if it worked and you took too much, it's going to be too much. So you start with a smaller amount. That's what this means to us. It doesn't mean you go and you measure out ba he. It means, this I have to pay attention. Don't take too much, and then if it didn't work, you take it again until you get that seems like that sweat. And remember, it always is saying that seems like sweat. And here it goes even further. It says, way slight. So previously he'll say seems like sweat, and here he's saying that like light seems like sweat. There was something, we knew a yoga teacher in Colorado, and one of the things that I always liked he said that the whole point of sun salutations was not a workout. that the sun salutations, you were supposed to do them until the body had a very, very light sweat. Not a true sweat, then you did it too much. But just, and what does that mean? And if you get it right, it means that the yin and the wei, the nutritive and the defense, have connected and flowed and warmed, which means you're not going to deplete your muscles, but you're also not going to hurt them because they're still cold in your channels from just being natural state. And so you're basically creating in the sun salutation a Ma Huang Guizhi. And then you get it just right, and the pores open, and the nutritive goes, and you get it just right, and And then you get the Westerners who are doing it in 42 degrees Celsius.
Hot yoga.
Hot yoga. I was trying not to say that. Whoops, sorry about that. And they get many of what's coming later, which is han guo duo, like too much sweat, and then we have all the symptoms that come with that, even though the muscles are really elastic at that moment. You can kind of see where they're at. So he continues. So you keep taking it till you get almost that sweat. Bushu. There's no need to take the Zhou. And then the eating methods of what you should do are the same as Guizhi. So don't eat the flour, the oil, all those things.